This is your official full honest review and report card grade for WWE WrestleMania 37 right here on the JBSN Media Network YouTube channel. Jeff here with you. Let's just get right into what happened. As night one was getting underway, we had Vince McMahon and company out on stage with the whole town here. Of course, Stephanie, Shane, Triple H were all out on stage. The town was behind him. Vince gets the first pop from the crowd, the first live crowd in over a year. He's basically just hyping up WrestleMania being back in front of the live fans. Really nothing more than that. Obviously, the town, you could see some of them were moved emotionally with all this if you were watching. So, yeah, this was a good way to get things started. But however, the actual action had to wait 40 minutes because there was a weather delay because of rain that was happening during this time. We had lightning in the area as well. So, we had a 40-minute delay. What they wound up doing during this time is having Sarah Schreiber and Kevin Patrick interview the talent backstage. They would also go to the pre-show panel to kind of talk things up as well. So this was a bit disorganized. They probably should have shown like some highlights from previous WrestleMania or a classic match to kill the time, but they decided to go this way and it looked very disorganized. So once they did come back out, we had Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil come out. They were the co-hosts for this year's WrestleMania. They're basically just hyping up the crowd here as well, getting things ready to go here. So we get to the opening contest, which was for the WWE title. We had Bobby Lashley, of course, as the champion, out with MVP, taking on Drew McIntyre. Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander were banned from ringside as per the stipulation of the match that they had a few weeks ago, which McIntyre beat him in a handicap match. So this was an excellent match to get things started. You knew this was going to be a good match. Two very good workers here. A lot of back and forth action here. Great storytelling. Both guys tease having the match won several times as things got going here. We just get on to the end of the match here. It looks like Drew McIntyre has the match in the title won. He's getting ready for a Claymore. MVP gets up to distract Drew McIntyre just enough as McIntyre eventually does go for the Claymore. He missed. Lashley got him into the full Nelson hurt lock. Drew McIntyre tries to fight it, but ultimately he passes out. And at 18 minutes and 20 seconds, Bobby Lashley, via a submission technically, defeats Drew McIntyre to retain the WWE title belt. So, very surprised to have that happen. I am very surprised, to be honest with you, because I figured McIntyre was winning the title here. They wanted to do a make good from last year because he had won the title off Brock Lesnar at the Performance Center. So, I figured they wanted to have him win in front of the live fans, but they had Lashley win here. So, very surprised they had that. I had picked McIntyre to win. This, to me, having Lashley retain here had to be an 11th hour decision. I feel that. And that's fine. I'm surprised he did it, but that's what Vince went with, and that's what happened. As far as the match goes, I give it a B+. Very good match to get things underway. So, good start here. Now, something that was not so good was the next match here. It was the multi-team women's tag team turmoil match. This was to determine the number one contenders to take on Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax on night 2. You had Lana, Naomi, Tamina Snuka, and Natty. You had the Riot Squad, Mandy Rose, Dana Brooke, and Carmella and Billie Kay. Those were the teams here. Lana and Naomi came out first here, and the next team that came out was Carmella and Billie Kay. Really not a whole lot to this. Lana and Naomi get eliminated right away. We had the Riot Squad come out next here. They eventually eliminate Carmella and Billie Kay. And Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke come out next. They ultimately get eliminated, which ultimately leads to the final team coming out here of Tamina Snuka and Natty. So it's going to be one of these two teams that we're going to advance to night 2 to take on Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax here. Tamina and Natty hit the heart attack on Ruby Riott. Natty looks like she's going to go for the sharpshooter to win it. She tags in Tamina Snuka. She goes up to the ropes here, hits the big splash on Ruby Riott, and pins and wins. And so Tamina Snuka and Natty win at 14 minutes and 5 seconds to advance to night 2 to take on Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax for the women's tag team titles. This was not a very good match. Very sloppy. Things were not clicking here. It was not very good here. I gave this a D+. I had picked the Riot Squad to win here. They were among the last of the two teams there, but unfortunately they got eliminated at the end. I don't understand why Tamina Snuka and Natty won here. Of course, we'll talk what happened in night 2, but the only thing that people were going to remember from this match, a couple of things. People are going to remember that Mandy Rose, when she came out with Dana Brooke, she slipped on the stage here, obviously because of the weather, so she took a pratfall. And, of course, for those of you who don't know, Dana Brooke was trending on social media as well. I had to try to find out why, but then obviously we found out why. Let's just say she had a wardrobe malfunction. if you know what I mean. So that's unfortunately that happened to her. And supposedly the same thing happened to Lana as well. So that's some interesting stuff there. But that's really the only thing that people are going to remember from this match. This was not a very good match. I gave it a D+. It was not very good overall. So they advanced to night 2 to take on Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. The next match had Cesaro taking on Seth Rollins. This was one of the matches across both nights I was looking forward to, and this match did not disappoint. This was an excellent match. Excellent match here with Cesaro and Seth Rollins. Great storytelling here. Again, two very good workers in the ring. You knew this was going to be good. They had great chemistry here. Back and forth action here. Rollins gets all of his heat in. Cesaro was able to make the comeback. They tease a swing early. Cesaro did get Seth Rollins for, I think, like 8 full swings around early on there. He eventually gets Rollins into the sharpshooter. Rollins is able to get out of it, counter out of it. Ultimately, later on, Cesaro was able to get the swings. He hit 23 swings on Seth Rollins here. The crowd obviously counting along. Great stuff here. A great visual. Looked good. Cesaro pulled it off. And then ultimately, he hit the neutralizer on Seth Rollins after that, and he got the win here. So this was great. Cesaro was my pick to win, so he did get the win here, as he should have, at 11 minutes and 27 seconds. An excellent match. I gave this an A. This was great. Great stuff here. This is one of the matches you should go back and watch if you didn't watch WrestleMania. This was great storytelling, and they did everything they did there to make it feel good here, and the crowd was really behind Cesaro when he won this match. So hopefully that's the beginning of a push here for Cesaro to maybe get a future shot at the Universal title. So overall, very good stuff here. Next match was the WWE Raw Tag Team title match here with the New Day. That's Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston defending those tag team titles against AJ Styles and Doorman Jordan Omos. The premise of this match was the New Day working over AJ Styles for a while. They wanted to keep him in the ring and keep Doorman Jordan out on the apron. Omos eventually does get into the match, and the New Day are selling this guy like he's a big, huge monster, which, I mean, he's a huge, tall guy to begin with, but they were selling him like a monster, and so basically the New Day try to hit some stuff on him. He basically no-sells everything, and he just eventually goes to work on both of them. He really just takes them apart with the limited moveset he actually does have here. Eventually, he does hit a two-hand choke bomb, as I call it, on Kofi Kingston. And I think he got confused that was supposed to be the finish of the match, because he actually looked around for a few seconds, and AJ eventually told him to pin him. And he actually does the deal where he puts one foot on Kofi, and that was how that won the match. They won it at 9:47. So AJ Styles and Doorman Jordan are the new Raw Tag Team Champions. I had picked the New Day to retain here. I didn't see any reason why AJ Styles and Doorman Jordan needed to win here, but they did. So AJ Styles, I guess you could say that AJ had never been a tag team champion in WWE, so now he's done that. So he's held every title that's currently active on WWE television. So I guess that was the purpose here. But my question is, who does AJ Styles and Doorman Jordan face next? That's my question. There's literally no team to face here. It's essentially the New Day again. What? Lucha House Party? Please. What? So I guess like Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. I guess they're baby faces now, but maybe that's. But other than that, there's really no teams. There's no other teams they're going to face besides the New Day. That's just the fact of the matter. As far as the match goes, I gave it a C. Very paint-by-number stuff here overall. It was just one of those things. I didn't agree with this booking decision, and there was definitely quite a few of them, which I'll talk about as we go along here. But that was one of those I did not agree with, so we had that. Next up was the steel cage match with Shane McMahon and Braun Strowman. Jerry Lawler was out on guest commentary for this match here. He was pretty much healing it up in favor of Shane McMahon as this was going on. This match, again, was not very good overall. A lot of plotting and stalling here. Shane McMahon looked like he was gassed within the first 3-4 minutes of the match. Shane McMahon does hit the coast-to-coast on Braun Strowman. He pulled it off, but just barely. But he did hit it. But then, as you know, they're obviously working up to the top of the cage. Shane does eventually hit the big spot here. He does his big bump off the cage here. At one point, we saw Braun Strowman actually tear part of the cage off as on the side there. You had Jason Riker and Elias who jumped Strowman before the match. They were pretty much taken out. So they're doing the deal here. They're going to the top of the cage here, and Braun Strowman just lawn darts the holy crap out of Shane McMahon off to the top of the cage, back into the middle of the ring. Shane McMahon is dead here, and Braun Strowman could have just went over the top of the cage and went out the bottom and won the match. He said he comes back into the ring. He ultimately does hit the power slam on Shane McMahon to win at 11 minutes and 28 seconds. As far as the steel cage match goes, this was not very good. I mean, this was the expected outcome. I did pick Braun Strowman to win. Obviously, he was going to win here because of everything that was going on. 11 minutes and 28 seconds, Braun Strowman won. I gave it a D+. It was for a steel cage match. It was not very good, so we had that. Next up was a tag team match here with The Miz and Morrison taking on Damian Priest and Bad Bunny. This was a match that surprised me, and in a good way. They had Bad Bunny here. Bad Bunny, he was in the ring for the bulk of the time here, and he took like 90% of the heat for his team here. Very surprised that he was in there for this long, but he actually was holding his own here. He actually looked pretty good. Now, granted, he had 3 guys in there protecting him, and that didn't hurt either. But Bad Bunny, I will say, he held his own. He did good stuff here. The Miz and Morrison work over him. They don't really do anything too dangerous to him. They pretty much protect him, but yeah, Bad Bunny, he gets some good moves in here, and we just get to the end of the match, and we see Bad Bunny on the outside hit a Canadian Destroyer, or as they called it, a Bunny Destroyer, on Morrison. That just popped my eyes open when I saw it. I was like, holy crap. I mean, that's really not a move you see in WWE to begin with, but he pulled it off, and he pulled it off beautifully here now. Obviously, he had Morrison there to help him out, but that was a fantastic-looking move on the outside. Priest does his thing as well, and then Priest sets up Bad Bunny as Bad Bunny hits a big crossbody on Miz in the middle of the ring to win the match at 15 minutes and 3 seconds. This was a great match. I am surprised at how well Bad Bunny looked here. He certainly fooled me, made a fool out of a lot of people, including myself. I'll admit it. I didn't think Bad Bunny was going to be this good. He was. And with limited training here, he looked better with limited training than people who've been with the WWE for years. And that's an indictment on them and the hard work that he put in at the Performance Center in Orlando, Florida there. Just great stuff here. And Bad Bunny, and obviously he's going to be leaving to go back to doing his music, but this was fantastic. 15 minutes and 3 seconds. I was amazed at how well he did here. He certainly made a fool out of me and made a fool out of a lot of people here, and he made people eat their words. I gave this a B. This was great. Great stuff here, and good match overall. I love the storytelling here. It was very good. Next match was, and this was going to be the main event here, the WWE SmackDown Women's Title match here. We had Sasha Banks as the champion taking on Bianca Belair. This match, it was a good match. It was a good match, back and forth action here. The genesis of the match here was Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks fighting over Bianca's hair. That's what happened here. So they're doing that several times here, just back and forth action. Ultimately, near the end here, we see Bianca Belair whips Sasha Banks with her braided hair here, and ultimately she hits the KOD on Sasha Banks to win the match. Back and forth action. She wins the title at 17 minutes and 17 seconds to close out night 1 of WrestleMania and become the SmackDown Women's Champion. I'm surprised they switched the title here. I thought for sure Sasha Banks was retaining here. But I guess they wanted to send the fans home happy here, and Bianca Belair won the title. This was one of those I did not agree with as well, but they did what they did here, and Sasha Banks remains winless at WrestleMania, which, it's an indictment in itself, but also it's a very selfless act on her part that she's willing to put others over every year at WrestleMania. But at one point, she needs to put her foot down and actually want to win a match instead of trying to put everyone over every year. So Bianca Belair is the SmackDown Women's Champion. She gets the big celebration here, and that's what happened. I gave the match a B. While it was a good match, to me, it felt like it was missing something. It was a little choppy at times as well, but it felt like it was just missing something. But I did give it a B. 17 minutes, 17 seconds. That's how night 1 ended. So, and it did end at around 11:30. This was after the 40-minute weather delay. So, about 2 hours and 50 minutes or so with action and stuff throughout the show. I will say that Bayley, we did see Bayley. She did some stuff. We saw her a couple of times here. She did something with Hogan and Titus O'Neil backstage at one point. And then we actually saw her come out to the commentary table to lead to a package. I think it was for the Hall of Fame. That's really all they had Bayley doing on night 1. We'll talk about night 2 right now. Let's get on to that. Night 2 opened up with Bray Wyatt taking on Randy Orton here. I don't know why they opened with this match, but they did. We see Alexa Bliss coming out here. There's a big Jack in the Box out there. Ultimately, we see the Fiend Bray Wyatt appear out of the Jack in the Box as she wound up the toy there, this big Jack in the Box. So, He does appear out of it. He actually comes off the Jack in the Box and nail Randy Orton. That's what starts the match here, and it just goes downhill from here in a bad way. This was just a regular wrestling match. This was not a gimmick match. They just go back and forth here. A lot of plotting. Really, no rhyme or reason to this match. It looks like the Fiend has the match won. He has Randy Orton rather in Sister Abigail, and then Alexa Bliss appears on the top of the Jack in the Box. She transformed herself here, and we see this black goo coming out of her hair through her hairline. It looked disgusting in a cheesy way, I should say. And that distracted Bray Wyatt because, of course, he's a fucking moron. And Randy Orton eventually hits the RKO out of nowhere. Just one RKO and it pinned him, and that's what won the match at 5 minutes and 53 seconds. I'm glad this did not go 20 minutes. That was a positive, but that was the only positive in this. If you've been listening to my podcasts, I've been trying to tell you all along, to anyone who would listen, that this match was not going to be good. It was going to be a complete train wreck, and that's exactly what this was. Nothing special about this. I gave this an F. I had picked Bray Wyatt to win the match. Obviously, Randy Orton won, which means why should anyone care about Bray Wyatt at this point? That's what this came off to as me. So I gave it an F. It was not very good. It was a terrible way to open the show. And to me, I think this was Vince and Bruce sticking it up the fans, you-know-what. So that's just my thought on that. So next up, we had the WWE Women's Tag Team title match here with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defending the Women's Tag Team titles against Tamina Snuka and Natty. This was not a very good match. I will say it was slightly better than what we saw on night 1 in the Tag Team Turmoil match, but this was not much better here. I legitimately feel bad for Shayna Baszler here. I really do, that she's relegated to this now. Unless I missed it, I did not see Champagne Reggie at all during all this, unless I missed it. So it's just back and forth here. Each person in the match gets a chance to shine for a bit. Ultimately, Natty, we get to the end of the match. Natty's going to put the sharpshooter on Nia Jax. She actually gets her in the sharpshooter, but Shayna Baszler comes up from behind and puts her into the clutch, the Coquita clutch, and Natty ultimately passes out. And at 14 minutes and 19 seconds, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler retain the women's tag team title belts. I had predicted that the Riot Squad would win night 1 and actually would win the titles here, but obviously since that didn't happen, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were expected to retain her, which they did. So that's what happened there. I gave the match a D+. It was not very good overall, and I feel bad for Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler should be doing something better than this stuff that she's in with Nia Jax and Champagne Reggie. I'm going to keep saying that too, but this was not good either. So you could say they got the 2 weakest matches out of the way here on night 2. We get on to what started to be finally getting to the good stuff here. And the next match was the grudge match with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Logan Paul was there. He was sitting near commentary, not on headset, but he was sitting there at ringside. They were just watching the match here. Clearly rooting for Sami Zayn at times, but also rooting for Kevin Owens. He kind of gave it away, what was going on. But as far as these two go, excellent stuff here. They got in a lot of stuff here in just a short amount of time they were given for this match. Excellent match. Excellent stuff here. Back and forth action. Both guys look very strong here. Ultimately, in the end, Sami Zayn gets caught up and gets caught into a Stone Cold Stunner, and Kevin Owens does get the win at 9 minutes and 17 seconds. And that's how much, that's the time of the match it went, but just they crammed so much into this stuff here. This is something you got to go back and watch, because the storytelling in this match was great. Fantastic stuff here. So ultimately, Logan Paul and Sami Zayn get into some sort of a confrontation in the ring. Logan Paul predictably turns on Sami Zayn. Of course, everyone saw that coming 10 miles away. We see Logan Paul go to raise Kevin Owens' hand. He kind of does it forcefully, pulls him into the middle of the ring. The fans want Kevin Owens to give him the stunner, and he does oblige. He does give Logan Paul the stunner. It was not a good-looking stunner. It was a terrible sell by Logan Paul. I think he definitely botched it. He screwed it up. It was obvious when you watched it, but he gives the fans what they want here, and they cheer him, and that was it. So as far as the match goes and everything else, I gave this an A-. It was that good. This is one of the matches you should go back and watch from WrestleMania 37. Next match was the WWE United States title match here. We have Matt Riddle defending that title against Sheamus here. This match, it was okay. It was a decent match. Just back and forth action here. Both guys get their heat in. We get to the end of the match here. Looks like they unfortunately there was a botch here. Looked like Sheamus was going to go for white noise on Matt Riddle off the ropes. Looked like whether it was going to be the middle rope or the top rope, I forget which one it was, but unfortunately he slipped. I think it was the top rope. He was going to hit a top rope version of white noise. Unfortunately he slipped, but he was able to hold on to Matt Riddle, so they wound up just doing the white noise back on the on inside the ring, and then ultimately Matt Riddle was able to recover. He's trying to go for Bro Derek, or the Flash Knee rather, and Sheamus just catches him with a bro kick as he was coming off the rope, and he got the win here. 10 minutes, 51 seconds, and he got the belts, and he got the win, and he won the title. So Sheamus is the new United States champion. I had predicted Matt Riddle would win and retain here, but they gave it to Sheamus here, which, it's fine. I didn't really have an issue with that. As far as the match goes, I gave it a B-. It was decent enough, a little choppy. Obviously, I had the noticeable botch there. I mean, I have to deduct for that. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where the ropes may have been slippery or whatever it was, but I mean, it was very noticeable. Obviously, everyone saw it there, but they didn't really give him a hard time, which was a good thing. And Sheamus won the match, and clearly the crowd was cheering for Sheamus here as well, so we had that. Next up was the Nigerian drum match for the Intercontinental title. We had Big E defending the Intercontinental title against Apollo Crews. The Nigerian drum match was essentially if you want to say a hardcore match, you could say that. It was a no disqualification match, no countouts, no holds barred, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. They did have weapons outside the ring, including drums themselves, so the weapons do come into play. Both guys use the weapons on each other here, back and forth action. Looks like Big E's got the match won. He hits the big ending. He's got things under control. Looks like he has it won. But we see Dabba-Kato. He arrives here to help Apollo Crews as he's recovering. Dabba-Kato, of course, was rumored to be returning here, and he is now back. He is going to be aligned with Apollo Crews. Apollo Crews does eventually battle back. He hits his finisher on Big E, and at 6 minutes and 49 seconds, this did not go very long. Apollo Crews is the new Intercontinental Champion, as I predicted he would be, so that is exactly what happened. So he did win the title, and he had to win the title here, because what else would have happened? What would have been the point of a heel turn from Apollo Crews if he was never going to beat Big E? So he does beat him here. I gave the match a C-. It was not a terribly great match either. It's just one of those things. It was not really appealing to me, but Dabba-Kato did we'd make his return after Raw Underground here. Of course, we're not supposed to mention Raw Underground. That's supposed to be forgotten about, but you know how that goes. So now we have Dabba-Kato as the advisor, or as the commander for Apollo Crews, and we're going to see that probably on SmackDown this week, so we had that. Next match was the WWE Raw Women's title match here. We had Asuka taking on Rhea Ripley. This match, again, it was I don't know. It's hard to describe. It was nice to see Asuka actually have a Raw Women's title match on pay-per-view, and I think it was the first time in 8 months that she had done so. So they just go at it here. The match itself, it's pretty average, I think. Really nothing really special about this. At one point, Asuka does get the Asuka lock on Rhea Ripley. She's able to counter out of it. We just get to the end, back and forth action. Rhea Ripley ultimately gets Asuka up for the Riptide. She hits it and pins and wins the title. She becomes the new Raw Women's Champion. She does it at 13 minutes and 27 seconds. This is one of those I have a big problem with here. Rhea Ripley should not have won this match. I had picked Asuka to retain. And this one really does bug me, because Rhea Ripley is the new Raw Women's Champion with no build. She didn't beat anybody to get to this point. The fact is, they literally have nobody else for Asuka. I guess that's the reason they're going to say. But to me, this was absolutely the wrong decision to have Rhea Ripley win the title this soon. I don't agree with it. I legitimately felt bad for Asuka here. I really did. She was sabotaged through no fault of her own here, and this one just it bugs me. It really does bug me. Asuka deserved better than this, and clearly we're going to get stuff with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair, who did not come out here. I thought for sure there was a possibility that Charlotte would get involved in this. We never saw Charlotte. She never came out. There was rumors that maybe Becky Lynch and or Ronda Rousey could make an appearance. We never saw them. This was straight up one-on-one action here. Very run-of-the-mill here. Very average. I gave it a C. I didn't think this was really anything special. They didn't seem to have good chemistry. That was, I guess, another way I would describe it. So that was it. So Rhea Ripley is the new Raw Women's Champion. The final match of the night was the big main event here for WrestleMania, the triple threat match for the Universal title. Roman Reigns as the champion with Paul Heyman. Of course, Jey Uso was out there as well. We had Edge and Daniel Bryan also in the match here. This was an outstanding match. Say what you want about the guys in the match, who should have been in the match, who should not have been in the match. We can debate that and argue that all day, but all three guys here told a great story. Of course, Jey Uso tries to get involved to help Roman Reigns early. He gets taken out for a while, so we don't see him after a while. So each guy gets a chance to shine as the match goes on here. Paul Heyman, great stuff from Paul Heyman on the outside with his facial expressions, He was really telling a story just on the outside. He doesn't do anything, but the facial expressions and all that kind of stuff, just great stuff there from Paul Heyman. So each guy gets a chance to shine as the match goes on here. We just get on to the end here. Jey Uso eventually does come back out to help Roman Reigns once again. He gets taken out again. We had a concerto that was done. Edge had hit the concerto on Daniel Bryan at one point, so he's taken out here. He goes to do it on Roman Reigns, but Jey Uso made the save here. So Daniel Bryan's pretty much out of the match. And then, Reigns is able to recover after Edge and Jey Uso do some stuff there. Edge took out Jey Uso, but Edge unfortunately turned his back on Roman Reigns, and he hit Edge with the spear. And then what he does next, because Daniel Bryan's laid out from the concerto, he actually drags Edge over to Daniel Bryan, and he pins both guys. He does a stack up, and he pins both guys at 21 minutes and 41 seconds to retain the Universal title, as I expected he would. This was 100% the right decision here. There was no reason to put the title on Edge. It would have been nice to see Daniel Bryan win here, but I knew he was not winning the title. Roman Reigns winning and retaining was absolutely the right decision here. You ride that Reigns train until it runs out of steam here. That's exactly what they're doing here. And we'll see what happens with Roman Reigns next. We don't know who his next opponent's going to be, but he's pretty much beating everyone legitimately that would be considered a top threat at this point. So that's how it happened here. Of course, big fireworks display. I mean, a number of the superstars got firework displays, and he had a big display here as they went off the air. So he won and retained here at 21-41. I gave it an A+. This was easily the best thing across both nights of WrestleMania for sure. There was some other good stuff here, but this was the true main event, and it delivered. It delivered big time. All three guys told a hell of a story in this match, and this is definitely one you should go back and watch. The fans were clearly into this match more than anything else across both nights, to be honest with you. The fans were on their feet for pretty much just the whole match. They were hanging on every last move here, and just great stuff here. So good stuff here from all three guys. The right guy and Roman Reigns winning as they went off the air for night two. So that was it. This was done, I think, by about a quarter after 11, about 20 after 11, so even a little bit earlier than the previous nights. So that was it. So at least they didn't go to midnight. So I think they learned their lesson from that. So now, let's go back to night one here. My grade for night one's action. And I will say night one was definitely the better of the two nights, without question. From top to bottom here, night one had the better action overall. I gave night one a B for my overall grade. I thought it was good. Obviously, a couple of clunkers in there, but other than that, I thought the matches that needed to be had there, for the most part, actually delivered. So that was enough to get rid of the clunkers. So a B was my official grade for night one. Night two, I thought was a bit underwhelming here. Not as good, clearly, as night one. I gave night two a C. I really did. I thought it was, from top to bottom, about an average show here. Some people will say it was a glorified episode of Monday Night Raw. I've heard that mentioned, but yeah, I mean, night two was not nearly as strong as night one. Night two, actually, I thought had the stronger card from top to bottom, but night one just had the better action than night two. So when we put that together, my official overall grade for WWE WrestleMania 37, I will give it a B-. I was, going between a B- and a C+. I gave it a B- because as far as, the show ending, it was a little bit after 11 o'clock, but they didn't go past midnight. And remember, they didn't start till 8 o'clock. It wasn't a 7 o'clock start like it has been the last several years. So an 8 o'clock start time, so it didn't really overstay its welcome. So I bumped it up to a B- from a C+ for that aspect, and there were definitely a number of surprises on the show. The biggest surprise had to be Bad Bunny, without question. He really proved a lot of people wrong, like we talked about earlier. But there's a lot of things that also bugged me. A number of questionable booking decisions here really rubbed me the wrong way here. I mean, obviously the one with Rhea Ripley is the one that got me the most. I didn't think Bianca Belair should have been Sasha Banks. I didn't think Rhea Ripley should be an Asuka. I didn't understand why the Raw Tag Team title was changed here. I just don't understand that. And if you look at it now, we have a very heavy heel faction holding the titles right now. It's very heel heavy right now. Bianca Belair is the only babyface holding a title between Raw and SmackDown at this point. Everybody else that's holding a title would be considered heels. So to me, that is a desperate move to try to get ratings up. That's what I feel is happening. I don't see it working. Just my official thought on that. But yeah, my overall official grade, like I said, is a B- for WrestleMania 37. Let me know what you think down in the comments section. Give it a like if you'd be so kind as well. And we'll see you the next time here on YouTube. Bye for now, everyone.